Hi everyone and welcome back to my true crime channel. Now it's been such a long time since I did a true crime video on here, so if you do enjoy them, please do hit the like and subscribe button and I will know to do more. So this is a really troubling case. This is a crazy disappearance, and actually it was pretty much caught on camera, which is what I find so fascinating about this case. I'm always really intrigued by disappearances, people going missing without a trace, and especially when there's strange circumstances surrounding it, which is definitely the case in this case I'm going to cover. So Lars Mittank is who we are going to be talking about today. He was born on February the 9th in 1986 in Berlin. He had a job at a power plant and he had really good relationships with his friends, family and his girlfriend. His dad had actually unfortunately suffered a stroke, so he did frequently spend time with his family, trying to help out obviously with looking after his dad and things like that. On June the 30th, 2014, Lars was 28 years old. He was going on his first holiday abroad with his friends. He'd never ever done this before, so it was really an exciting time for him. They were travelling to Varna in Bulgaria from obviously Berlin. They were staying at a resort called the Golden Sands. This is a seaside resort just outside of Varna. And it was just a standard guy's holiday, just a bog standard, doing what normal guys do on holiday, partying, going to pubs, playing football, just sort of chilling out and just kind of generally having a good time. According to Lars's friends who he went on holiday with, they were having a really nice time on holiday, sort of nothing out of the ordinary had happened. But on July the 6th, the day prior to their return home, the group went to a pub to watch the World Cup. It was the quarter-final of the World Cup and this game was the Netherlands versus Costa Rica. So during the football match, Lars apparently got into an argument with another group of German tourists. Apparently this argument was to do with the football. It sounds like they were just kind of getting riled up by the game, and it's believed that the two groups, so Lars and his friend and then these German tourists, then left the bar and nothing more came of this. Lars and his friends then decided to go to like a McDonald's, an evening opening McDonald's. And I believe what happened is his friends went inside and Lars stayed outside. And when they came outside from sort of getting their food and stuff, they realised that Lars had vanished. Being kind of lads on holiday, I don't think they really thought too much of this. They probably just presumed he'd gone back. And they went back and Lars reappeared the next morning. So when he came back the next day, he explained to his friends that he'd been beaten up by 4 men that had been hired by the German group of tourists that he'd got into an argument with in that bar. He had an injured jaw and a ruptured eardrum. So he went and saw a doctor who obviously looked over him and his injuries and actually advised that he shouldn't fly home. His doctor also prescribed him an antibiotic called cefprozil. As I mentioned, they were due to fly home very soon, so that kind of foiled those plans, and Lars obviously told his friends his predicament. So his friend said to him, you know, we are happy to stay with you. If we want, we can change our flights. But Lars just said, no, stick to your normal plan and go on your flight and I'll be okay and I'll just wait here and I'll get a later flight home. His friend said that he didn't seem upset by this and he had like a good demeanor. Nothing was off about this at all. So when his friends checked out of their hotel that they were staying in, obviously Lars was checked into those rooms as well, so he checked out at the same time. He decided to book into a different hotel, a cheaper hotel near to the airport, until he was allowed to fly home. So he checked into Hotel Color Varna for the night. So with his friends gone onto their flights and going home, Lars checked into the hotel and apparently started acting very paranoid at this point. On one occasion he phoned his mum Sandra, and this obviously worried his mum Sandra because he whispered down the phone to her that he knew people were trying to kill or rob him, and he asked his mum to cancel his credit cards. CCTV in the hotel also captured him walking up and down, sort of pacing up and down the hallways in the hotel, checking out of the windows and hiding in a lift for an extended period of time. At 1 AM it's believed that he was seen leaving the hotel before returning about an hour later, and we do not know what he did in that time. He then rang his mum yet again after 1 AM to tell her that the people who were pursuing him were getting closer. So Lars was last seen on CCTV be at Varna airport on July the 8th, 2014. He had all of his luggage with him and was hoping to obviously fly home to Germany to get back to his family. Now, he went to see the airport doctor just prior to getting on his flight, obviously to check out his injuries and see how he was, see if he was ready to fly home. This was Dr. Kostov, and the doctor actually described Lars's behaviour when he came to the consultation with him as nervous and erratic. And Lars was apparently asking a lot of questions about the antibiotics that he was on and seemed really concerned about them. Now, the airport was undergoing quite a lot of maintenance, so there was a lot of like building workers, builders around the airport. And at one point during the consultation, a construction worker entered the room. Now, although I do believe that this isn't appropriate, obviously, for a construction worker to just waltz in while you're having a consultation with a doctor, Lars began to tremble and shouted, "I don't want to die here, I have to get out of here." He then got up and started running. Now, we've got clips of this on CCTV. He left behind all of his luggage, including his wallet, phone and passport as well. He was captured on the CCTV at the airport running from the terminal and climbing over a barbed wire fence. He then runs into a field in the distance and sprints off in the direction of a forest near to the highway. Now, this is the last known confirmed sighting of Lars, and his family actually hired a private detective to try and get some sort of answers and to try and locate him, but this was unsuccessful. So let's dive into some of the theories as to what happened to Lars, because honestly there are quite a few theories about what happened, and I'm not really leaning more towards any. I feel like they've all got flaws and they've all got quite valid reasoning behind them as well. So it's really difficult to try and work out what's gone on here, and I'm interested in your theories as well. So if you do have any other theories, comment them below. So the first theory is that Lars escaped to start a new life. He just did this of his own accord, and this was sort of planned by him. Now, he may have concocted the idea that he got into a fight to give him a reason to stay behind while the other boys travelled home. He could have ran to the highway and then maybe like hitchhiked his way somewhere else to just start a new life. However, he did have absolutely no money on him. He obviously didn't have his phone or luggage, you know, any changes of clothes. He didn't have his passport or any kind of belongings at all with him, so I feel like that is kind of a stretch. He also had no known motive to do this and to want to run away. You know, usually when people do this, they have some sort of problems at home, or they're going through something really difficult, and as far as we know, Lars didn't have any kind of motive to want to escape. However, as strange as this sounds, there have been cases where people have just upped and left without any clear motive, and they have started a new life. So the case of Robert Hoagland, that is a really crazy one for me. If you guys want me to cover that, then please do comment and let me know. It was really bizarre. Very briefly, missing man Robert Hoagland. He had a wife and children, and he orchestrated his own disappearance. He left without any phone, any passport, any money, anything, and simply upped and left and started a new life with no explanation. So the second theory about Lars is that maybe he was really being hunted down and followed by 4 men. Now, we know that Lars has still never been found, and this theory kind of aligns with that, because if he had been hunted down by some people who wanted to kill him, they would obviously dispose of his body. Something to, I suppose, back this theory up is the fact that we don't have any way to disprove anything that Lars was claiming. You know, he may well have been being followed. We don't know for sure that he wasn't being followed and that he didn't get into a fight. However, it would probably be quite extreme for those tourists to orchestrate you know, people to not only beat him up, but also then to sort of hunt him down the day after and attempt to kill him or potentially kill him. That would be quite extreme, just from a bar disagreement. It would probably, if you think about it, be more likely that they would have ended up, you know, killing him in the actual physical altercation if they got into one with him. Some of Lars's friends have also said that they doubt that he even got into that original fight. They said he had a lack of wounds and said that it seemed like quite a far-fetched story. And it also doesn't seem to make sense that you wouldn't simply go to the police. You know, if you are really concerned for your safety and people are really hunting you down, it wouldn't really make sense not to go to police, or if you're at the airport, maybe a security member of staff, and tell them what's going on. The third theory is that his disappearance had something to do with substance trafficking. So it's theorized that potentially his friends were smuggling substances on that flight, and Lars was potentially kept behind as like kind of insurance to make sure that the smuggling had gone through. This also would make sense as to why his body has never turned up. You know, if some sort of gang had killed him after this due to something failing somewhere, they again would have maybe disposed of him properly, and therefore nobody would have ever found him. However, his friends were never caught trying to smuggle any substances, so this doesn't seem to ring true. In terms of the geography of the countries as well they were traveling from and to, smuggling via aeroplane seems definitely the most risky option, and I don't know why they would have risked that. If they were going to smuggle substances, it would be much easier to make use of the borders between those countries all being land borders. Going via aeroplane would mean going through much stricter security checks, so it just doesn't seem to make sense. And then the final theory as to what happened to Lars is that he may have had a psychotic episode. He might have been suffering from latent paranoid schizophrenia, and I do think that this theory does have some weight to it. If he did in fact get beaten up by the group after the bar incident, it could have been that the trauma to his head maybe triggered off some sort of psychosis. It could have also been that he potentially got spiked while he was on holiday or took some sort of illegal substance. I know a lot of people do that on holidays, and that could have triggered it as well. Let's not also forget the antibiotics that he was prescribed. Now, antibiotics on occasion have been linked to severe disruption in brain function, which I never knew until researching this case. In one particular incident, a woman developed psychosis a day after taking cefprozil, which is the antibiotic that Lars was taking. However, again, this doesn't explain why his body has never been found. If he'd become, you know, confused and disorientated, surely somebody would have found him, would have helped him, or reported his strange behaviour. If he'd potentially got lost in the woods, again, and died due to sort of just starvation or something like that, surely his body would have been discovered as well. There was quite extensive searches in the sort of area where he disappeared, and nobody ever found him. Also, according to the doctor, Lars hadn't been taking that medication. He hadn't been taking the antibiotics. The doctor stated he didn't even fill out his prescription, so his behaviour couldn't have been as a result of that. I can't think of a single reason why he left my office in such a panic. I'm still confused. About a year after his disappearance, a truck driver came forward and claimed to have potentially seen him hitchhiking in Varna. Now, this is not a confirmed sighting. However, in 2019, something similar was claimed. A German truck driver gave a hitchhiker a ride from Dresden to Schildow in Oberhavel, Brandenburg. The driver became aware of Lars' case after giving that lift and said that the man looked like an older version of Lars. He said he had long hair and a beard, and his eyes seemed tired and his cheekbones were prominent. So again, this is not a confirmed sighting, but it is something to suggest that, you know, there are people around that are kind of looking like Lars and hitchhiking. Just in terms of the present day, Lars is still missing. We still have no body, we still have no sign of Lars. He's around 5'11" 11 inches tall with dark blonde hair and has a scar on his left forearm. This is still a complete unsolved mystery, and it is just one that makes me so uneasy just due to the circumstances. The CCTV footage I think is really creepy. I just think there's something definitely not right here. There's something that just doesn't add up with any of the theories really, to be honest. So I'm really intrigued as to what you guys think, whether you have a different theory potentially, or whether you're leaning more towards any of the theories. I just find this such an intriguing case, and if you do want me to cover the Robert Hoagland case as well, please do let me know, because that is such a bizarre case as well, and we obviously know that he was found, spoiler. So I really do hope you have found this case interesting and that you can spread the word about Lars, because obviously his family still has no answers, and I just cannot imagine like being in that situation and just being completely clueless as to what has happened to your loved one. I think that must be the worst thing in the world, even worse than having someone die, because you have no kind of closure on this at all. Thank you so much for watching. Please do remember to hit the like button if you have found this video interesting, and I will hopefully be back soon with another true crime video.